Challenge that I see, Brian, right now is people are all of a sudden thrust into a digital age when they may not have been prepared for it. Working at FDRA, we've been playing around with tools, digital tools, virtual tools for a couple of years now because that's where our members were headed. So for us, this new kind of reality, this new normal is quite normal for us. And I was just asked to join the Public Affairs Council doing a video on virtual meetings, virtual fly-ins for associations interacting with staff. My concern is, the reason why we're doing a real flash briefing today is that people are interchanging virtual with digital. And
I was going to say, Andy, give me a breakdown of what your thoughts are with regards, because you say digital. Tell me what you're thinking of virtual versus digital.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I'm going to go through a deck and we can get into the details of it. But in essence, virtual to me right now, if you're doing a virtual fly-in, it's a video fly-in. All right. Okay. If you're talking about doing conference calls with staffers, that's the same thing that we could do in 1990 when George H.W. Bush was in the White House. That's nothing different. Same way when I think when you're talking about digital engagement or digital advocacy, you're talking about social media, sending emails to Capitol Hill, anything and everything that's kind of electronic is more digital. But if you're talking virtual, you're talking video, you're talking face-to-face, you're talking this. This is virtual. This is virtual.
Absolutely. And I love this. I think that you've been spot on in saying, and you guys have been ahead of the curve with this sort of virtual Zoom meetings of people for a while now. And so, that's the idea, is that we're all sitting here like this with each other day to day. There's no reason that we can't bring these kind of interactions to our advocates and our champions and everybody else involved.
Yeah. And I would say, if people are just talking about doing digital, changing to digital, right? Doing tweets, doing emails, this is stuff we should already be doing. This is nothing new. Right. We're in a new world. And if you're talking virtual and you really want to move the dial, everybody's sending letters, everybody's tweeting, everybody's Facebooking, everybody's doing calls. It's time to up your game and go virtual. It's time to go to video. And we're going to break it down right now. First of all,
Let's do it.
First of all, let's break down the fear of doing something different than you have had to do before. There's never a better time to innovate than a crisis, because necessity is the mother of inventions. And everybody right now is remote, and Outlook and email are not cutting it. Excel is not cutting it for our members in terms of communication and flow of data. Even phone calls with staffers trying to sync during meetings aren't working. FDRA made a commitment to go to all video so that we could see each other. It gives subtle clues and hints as to who's clued in, who understands what we're talking about. It reduces communication errors just for our organization, but also when we're communicating out to our members. Again, we use Zoom, the same one that we're using right now. And again, to the point I said before, when we're talking virtual advocacy is video. So really, this is what it is about. Right now, we're going to break down how you do a virtual fly-in or a video fly-in with a staffer, a member, how you use video to engage with your advocates who are now completely socialized to Zoom, who are doing Zoom happy hours to, Brian and I did a Zoom happy hour with our wives recently, right?
And that's what I love about this, Andy, is that we're all so accustomed to Zoom. In the matter of a week, I was just reading an article that they've seen 100,000 new downloads in like a matter of days, right? So we're all now accustomed to Zoom. There's no reason that we can't use it, not just for conference calls, but for other things with other folks outside of our typical board meetings or whatever it is. Like, let's get creative.
Yeah, I completely agree. People are now socialized to it. To Zoom is almost like to Google at a certain extent. So the ask of doing a video call with a staffer or member, or with your advocates, or with your team, is basically, it's a flat line at this point. Like, it's easy to do. First thing is things that I've learned. I work at FDRA on our innovation working group. I lead that, so I get to work with really innovative companies trying to transform physical to digital. So think of digital design in a CADS or a 3D, creating a 3D shoe instead of a physical sketch on a piece of paper. They're actually trying to use computers to do it now. So I work with companies like Steve Madden or Deckers or Caleres or Wolverine like Sperry or Hush Puppies, etc. And so there's rules to successful digital transformations, from going to a phone call to a video call. And the coolest thing is, and I think the fear that remains to move this is so foreign, but it isn't, because a successful digital transformation mimics a physical one. And I'll explain that. But it's the same reason why your laptop functions exactly like it did in the 1970s, with filing cabinets, with files, with folders, with documents that look like paper that sit on a desk, right? So that's the idea. Successful transformations have strategy and they're organized. There's guides, there's testing, there's beta testing, there's creating comfort for your teams, that they understand the technology and they know how to use it and how to guide someone else if they're having a problem. For instance, if Brian came on and he couldn't get his audio working, then I would be able to communicate, check this button, do this, do that. There's an attitude and belief that these digital virtual meetings can be better than physical meetings. And I actually think virtual fly-ins will be more effective than physical fly-ins. And we'll get to that. And then you got to choose a platform that's user-friendly, that there's low barriers to entry, low clicks, low software downloads, etc. And that's why I'm a real big advocate right now for Zoom overall.
What I love, Andy, from that is that, yes, there are rules, but they don't require bureaucracy and they don't require a lot of time necessarily to get going. It's that you just need to have the pieces in place, right? To have the checklist ready. And I know you get to that, but have that checklist ready, right? And just make sure that you understand what questions may pop up, but don't waste time with 40 layers of bureaucracy. Just get out there and try it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you cannot digitize your physical bureaucracy into a digital world and expect to get results. If you can eliminate that bureaucracy and create speed, you can actually see more engagement. You can actually move the dial, and it'll allow you to do things that you never thought you would be able to. So, the first thing is, we talk about virtual advocacy should look like physical ones. This is a normal fly-in where people go around. It's face-to-face. And I think if you're talking about doing calls with members or staff, I think it's antiquated. I think you need face-to-face, and you ask the staffer for a face-to-face call. It's video. You can do this with a staffer. Now, the key to doing it with a staffer, I will tell you, is to have a local constituent make the ask. Like a staffer may not want a face-to-face with a lobbyist. They'd rather get on the phone. I think we all understand that. As a staffer myself, I would rather get on the phone with a lobbyist than maybe have a face-to-face video conference. But I can tell you, after 10 years of working in Congress, your job is to represent constituents. And if a constituent asks to have a face-to-face video, you're going to find a way to have a face-to-face video. So, I mean, it's as simple as that. If you make the ask and you hold to it, they will do it. A good virtual workflow to setting up a meeting with the staffer, or even a fly-in where there's multiple groups. Again, think of it the same way. If you do a physical fly-in, you make a scheduling request. You either get the member meeting or you get the staff meeting. You organize your groups. You have a Sherpa. You have a guide that guides those groups. You train the staff on where they're going to go and how to lead them and what to say and tee off the meeting. It's the same way that you're going to do in a virtual meeting. In this instance, you're going to be guiding a team to make sure that their audio works, their video works, that they're engaged. You kick it off. You can come up with a quick guide for advocates. I also believe in testing beforehand. So if you've got 4 or 5 meetings lined up and you got a group of 4 people from across your industry or group, they're going to join a virtual meeting with the staffer over a given day. The day before, you just test it, get on there, make sure they're comfortable, make sure the audio works, explain the rules. It's quite simple. You don't need much work to do that. But just to make sure their software is installed, make sure they have a working camera, what to expect, etc. And then, of course, the leave behind. And the cool thing on Zoom is you can leave a digital leave behind where it drops directly to the staffer where they can download it. Right? Does this make sense?
What I love about this too, Andy, is that it also lowers the barrier of entry for training, right? Because it's no longer waiting for folks to come to town to train them, or even going out to the field to train them and put them in the real world situations, right? Now it's just saying, our testing the day before can be our training, because it's going to be exactly the same as this, right? We are going to be in 5 windows around your laptop screen. So make sure you're comfortable, make sure you're wearing something professional, make sure that you're performing, you're answering questions, but this is exactly what it will be. So it's lowering that barrier of entry, both on the training side where folks get used to it, which is always a problem, right? There's so many issues with that face-to-face, and you've talked about it before, building this staffer up as this great oracle that I'm worried about talking to, instead of just being another person. And this democratizes that so much more, because now they're just another window on your screen, just like everybody else is.
That's right. That's exactly right. So that's a good point. So as you plan out your strategy to do these virtual meetings, yeah, you like that, the old school reference?
Old school, baby.
Start off doing 2 or 3 on your own with staff, with friends you have on the Hill, with offices you know well that are your champions that will do it with you. Test it out, see what your workflows are, see what the challenges are, talk to the Hill staff about it, get feedback. But again, do a few yourself before you start getting your advocates involved. Make sure you have your workflow down. Again, target the members' offices that that we all have friends on the Hill, hopefully. Ask those guys to do video chats with you, to engage with them, ask them questions about how easy it was for them to get on, any barriers.
Right.
Use the fact that you did a few already with other staffers in the asks that you make during the other meeting, because that means that other staff are already doing it, and it makes the ask stronger that we want to do video. We don't want to do typical conference calls. We want to do a video with you because we have a local constituent that's here that wants to talk to you and see you face to face. They can't fly in, they can't see you. They want to do the video. People have already done it. It will reduce the barrier to say no again. And then once you've done a few of those and you have your workflow down, go a little bit bigger. So the first round of doing it is to go back to the people who have already done a fly-in, a physical fly-in before. They know what to say in the meetings. They understand what the pitch is. There's no real issues. Again, you're basically saying we're taking what we would do in a physical fly-in and we're digitizing it, and we're doing a virtual fly-in with video. That's all it is. So they already know the game. They just get a little bit comfortable with doing the video, and then you're off to the races, and you can schedule a little bit more meetings. Now, when you've done the first round, just yourself, you've done the second round with a few of your trusted advocates, then you've got everything down to actually plan a large virtual fly-in. So I've actually, since I did the Public Affairs Council, I've already talked to 3 or 4 associations, helping them figure out their workflow. But it basically, again, it's the same as a physical one. You're going to group people into 3 and 4s. You're going to add a staffer with them to be the Sherpa, the guide. You're going to make asks of the schedulers, and you're going to go out and just start having these meetings, and you're going to schedule it down the day to day to day. The cool thing is, the reason why these meetings are more effective, and they're one, it's cost effective, but 2, you can actually increase the amount of people participating in the fly-in, because people don't have to physically travel to DC. You got people at home right now who are sitting there wanting to do something and communicate, and you can get small business owners who could never leave their business for a day or 2 to actually travel up here. You can find really unique people within your communities and with your associations and groups to bring those people in. Those are the people the staffers really want to meet with. It's not always the grass top executives. Those meetings are important to all of us.
Sure.
Sometimes the best meetings and the most effective meetings the staffer have is, I've got a person from your hometown. His business is in that strip mall on the big intersection across from the 7-Eleven, and that's where you start to build these real relationships and people asking questions about what's happening back home, what's the weather, what's happening with this. Those are real interactions that drive policy. It's not your points. It's the real interaction, and video gives you that ability. So anyway, the other point of doing this is you attach that digital side to your virtual side. This is where Brian can really come in and talk about this, but you need to run your letter campaigns and your social media campaigns at the same time to create that critical mass. So you need a platform that allows you to do that, to track people, to encourage them to do it at the same time you're doing this, so that you're breaking through, and that if they're tracking numbers and counts of calls or letters, etc., it's coming through, and I'll say this for Brian because, Brian doesn't hype himself enough, but we've been using Spark Influence in order to do letter campaigns like everybody else. The difference is on the back end, we get to see, well, our first strategy was we encouraged all our CEOs, all our executives to send it out to their employees and ask them to participate. That automatically rebuilt our database in ways that we could not do in any other way to activate people. So now all of a sudden we've got 6,000, 7,000 new people in our database. Then what we can do is say, okay, what does our gut tell us about who wrote letters, who got on calls that we can invite to some of these meetings because we know who they are. But the data then on the back end that we use Spark Influence for then tells us who's really passionate, who's active, because there's a tie-in. So if you want to do targeting, there's a tie-in to the back that gives me their social profile. So I have this, there you go, there's your Spark Influence, right down to targeting. It allows me to see their social profile to know their reach, meaning if I've got somebody that I don't know who they are and I wonder if they're an influencer, I can see their Twitter feed to see if they post something about, tell Congress, to fight for our jobs, or there's some issue that comes up within the industry. And based on the number of likes they have or followers they have, that's a person I want to get involved because they're going to get all their friends to send a letter for me down the line.
Well, it's those last two pieces there that are the crux of what we're talking about, which is, it's marrying the virtual with the digital, and it's saying, okay, the video is great, and then let's do that alongside the letter, social, and this is something we say all the time, both of us, is that advocacy is so much more than just letters, phone calls, and tweets, right? It's about the people behind the activities, right? So in this case, you're spot on. One, we do these kind of things with our Hill meetings and everything else we're doing, but then we marry that with the information that we're able to pull from those folks about who they are, so that it's not just today, but it's tomorrow. It's not just letters for this round of the financial bill, which is moving through at the moment, but it's pretty clear we're going to need another one in a couple of months, a couple of weeks even, we're not sure. So how do I find ways to get more out of my folks is to better understand who they are in the long run, to be able to work with them and not waste anyone's time, right? We know everyone is busy. We know everyone's got things to do. So let's better understand who they are so that we can understand how we can approach them in the future and spend our time wisely, spend their time wisely, and get the most out of everything at the same time. So you're spot on with that one. I really like it. The next one is the one I know you come in, which is visual props. I know this one is straight up your alley because you guys pull visual props left and right.
If I was looking for the Electronics Association or I was Apple, I would literally have this phone on. I would have any kind of, if I was working for Bose headsets, I'd have my Bose on. I'd have, if I was working for the Microphone Association, I have a microphone. I'd have anything and everything that has a physical assets to our community to share, to show. And sometimes you can use it to actually get better meetings because you're saying, I'm going to show you something that's not out in the market yet that I want to talk about.
Well, you guys do it so well with footwear because obviously you guys have the 3D modeling, right? You guys have the new styling. You guys have the material exchange I know that you're working on as well, right? All of these new concepts where you're able to bring in those pieces right off your feet. But you're able to bring in those pieces and add depth to it, right? This is one way, of course, obviously talking to each other and adding that face-to-face, but there's also the depth of the footwear that you can show, the materials you can show, the newfangled things that maybe only your industry has access to, where the staffer may not understand it, right?
Right, but I would also add that having a physical prop reduces fear of your advocate speaking because as soon as they have what they know and love and they work in that industry, the passion comes out. So it reduces a barrier to really talk about their needs and challenges, and you get your talking points across, but you get it across authentically because the passion starts coming through as soon as they hold what that prop is. And so many people forget the one-page handout is not the prop.
Right.
It's inhibiting those people from talking the way they want to talk.
It's a crutch. They're holding on to it. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
The last thing on this slide is record the whole process, not the meetings. I would not say don't record your staffer meetings. I'm saying record all the work you did setting up all this work, behind the scenes stuff, stitch it into a video and show your industry how many people you got involved. Just like you do in a physical flying, you get all the videos of people coming in and interacting and going around the hill. Same thing. Tell them how innovative you are in doing this because it could matter when it comes to membership re-up.
That's a great point. Is doing the byproduct of it all is always big.
Right. I'm not a salesman for Zoom. I have
I
no
love this one.
stock in Zoom. I wish I did, but I think you should use Zoom. I know some people use WebEx and other platforms. I find them a little clunky because every time you click on it, you still got to wait for the software to come up. Zoom's really interesting. Zoom is low cost, so you can get it for $200 a month. You can get 10 host accounts. That means you can run 10 meetings at the same time with different staffers. So that's really important. It can also, like we use it to host a weekly meeting every Tuesdays at 2 p.m. We do an industry-wide update on sales, on sourcing, on the politics of all the coronavirus impact we have on our industry. We can host up to 300 people on our Zoom account. It's low latency. It's ease of use. You download the software once. You send out one link for everybody to get on. You can do registration through it if you want to for big meetings. It looks professional. People are socialized to it, as Brian said previously. This is a key thing. No personal information needed. Some people are trying to do Skype meetings, but you still have a personal identifier. You don't really want to do a FaceTime with the staffer because someone has to give out their cell phone. Hill cell phones are not good. If you've never worked on the Hill, they're always behind. I mean, we had to fight tooth and nail to get BlackBerries. And then once that happened, then it was like iPhone. So it's not, I think you need something where it's a professional environment where you're having these conversations. It's easy to pass over handouts. It feels like a physical roundtable meeting with these boxes. So you can see Brian and I, but if you add more people to it, you can really see. Here's an example of actually going in and scheduling really quickly. Brian, you can see this, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm just scheduling a meeting. This is inside FDRA's Zoom account. I'm scheduling the meeting. I get the time set. The video's on. I don't want to record the meeting. I hit save. I get the Zoom, and all of a sudden I just send it around. I'm like, hey, here's the Zoom meeting. Just click on this link and you can join. I mean, it's pretty simple. So when you plan to launch the call for the meeting, everyone clicks the link. That's it. You open it up, and there I am in my home.
There he is.
So you can manage participants. You can hit the chat button so you can say hello to everybody in case there's audio issues. Or if you want to share something, there's the share button. So that's what I'm doing right now to share this, but there's a share button to actually send files to the staffer that you would like to do. So there I am.
Right.
All right. So that's simple. And to my other point,
this is what I really like, because you guys do this better than anybody else, I think, which is just the very quick and easy, let's talk to somebody who's in the industry and get their message.
Yeah. So the same platform we do interviews with for Kicks Over Coffee, and I'll show the branding for that in a second. But the same way I interviewed Chip here, I can get him to come on and talk to his local Wisconsin member and share what's happening in his store right now. And he's having some big issues, but he's considering his store. I don't know what that is. I guess I'm saving the. All right. But he sits in his store and he can talk to that staffer. He can show him things in the store. He can share his ideas, but the video gives subtle physical clues you don't get elsewhere. You can watch his reaction when I ask him a question. He leans in. He'll furrow his brow. He'll think about something. He'll wipe his face. These are huge cues to us to know, is the staffer understanding? Are they engaged in what we have? And conversely, to give the staffer the passion that show them the passion. You can get on the phone, sure, but it doesn't mean that they completely understand how engaged you are in this and how much you care. And here I'm just going back to the main screen again to show this is what you'll see when you run a meeting. You have your meeting ID.
But I think that Chip one is perfect. Your Chip video is so great because, one, Chip may not be able to make it to a meeting in a district or even DC, right? DC or even a district, right? Two, when I'm watching Chip here, I'm also seeing the background of Chip, which is Chip in his office, right? All the things that Chip has on his bulletin board, all the books he has behind him. Chip, like, it adds depth to the character, right? And you don't get that necessarily when you go to the Hill even, where, I'm in my business outfit, I'm walking up to the Hill with my group, we all sit around the table. You have very little time to talk about depth of character there and who you are and your story. And yes, and that's what we train folks on. But I automatically, looking at Chip here with that background, get an understanding of Chip works hard. Chip's got a lot going on. Yep. There's a lot of stuff in his office. Like, this is a man who's taking the time to talk to me about the issues. That adds a whole extra depth of character, which is just something that you can't even get in a physical meeting. It's fantastic.
It's a great point. That's a great point. Here's a quick shot of what it looks like with everybody on. This is our staff meeting. I don't want to show it too long because somebody might get mad at FDRA. But this is a staff meeting we hold, and this is what it looks like when you put in 3 or 4 or 5 people in a Zoom. It's pretty cool. It's pretty clear, pretty effective. And a part of this too, so that we went through the video side. And again, you know, I have people emailing me asking me to get on calls with them and their staff to help them run through some of these ideas to give them some confidence. I'm happy to do that. You can email me at apolk@fdra.org. You can LinkedIn me. That's fine. But a part of this, to the chip video we just saw, there's no better time to build your brand than now, because the idea of, you know, having this crisis and everything, it's a great opportunity to help strengthen your industry. So part of this is you've got, so this is the Kicks Over Coffee. This is our branded interview. If you go to kicksovercoffee.com, you can see we basically have been interviewing all our industry leaders about what they're doing in business operations, how they're leading through the challenge in order to help the industry. And by doing that, we're building an audience and following of trust. And we're turning that trust, as we message to advocates to take action, into something a little bit different than most people have been. And this is our footwear flash briefings. There's no sound to it, but it would sound like a newsroom. But in essence, Matt, my boss, and I have been doing interviews together over Zoom in this digital space. I wanted to always do this like really cool newsroom, digital newsroom. I took a JPEG, I updated it with our logo. I dropped into our virtual background, just like we have now with the Advocacy Help Desk on Zoom. And we've been cutting less than 5-minute briefings on what it means for footwear, what's happening on Capitol Hill, what's happening in policy, what's happening with sales, what are hearing from executives. And we deliver this out, we put it on our YouTube channel, and we blast it out to our industry. And we have been getting presidents and CEOs emailing and saying, this is great. I forwarded it out to my whole team. I want people to follow this. And as part of all the information flow we're giving people, we're making asks as well. Send a letter. Go to fdra.org. There's a link on there. Please send a letter. Please send a letter. Please send a letter. But it gives you a huge opportunity to quickly update your industry with video, to see your face, to know you're approachable, to know you're passionate, to know you're there. Do not hide behind a telephone call when you can do video. And we are that Tuesday call that we do every Tuesday to update all our members. FDRA staff video is always on. We want them to see our faces, even if they don't want to turn on their video, that's fine. But we want them to see us, talk to them about what's happening, and say, we're here, we've got you, trust us. You know, building that trust, especially people who don't want to watch the news right now, who don't want to watch the president speak, or, you know.
Spot on. We have folks, and we've seen this very successful with groups, much like FDRA, et cetera, is folks are saying, look, I've watched the White House press conferences. I'm done with that. I don't want to watch the news networks. What I need is somebody telling me how the issues are going to affect my industry and me, because that's my biggest passion. Yes, of course. Obviously, we're all staying up to date on the health concern side of this and what it means for us. But it's also about what does it mean for me as a professional with the passions that I have. And you guys are crushing it with those 5-minute daily videos or every other day videos, because if I'm in the footwear industry, I need somebody to tell me what's happening with relation to the footwear industry. Right. And I'm not going to get that from anywhere else than from you guys. So it's a chance to build your brand, build your trust, build your authenticity, all those great words that you want to be there for folks. Well, now you're there.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you know, podcasts. We've been talking about podcasts forever, but we've actually ramped it up. Blake, who couldn't be with us today, but with Human Factor, who runs FDRA's podcast, and he runs the Advocacy Help Desk podcast. He set up a remote platform where myself, Matt, and Jasmine all dial into a remote system where he is, and then we have a person call into the system. So 5 or 6 different locations all around the country, all doing a professional high-end podcast together. So we've been interviewing CEOs like Footwear's Dick Johnson. He came on to talk about real-time analysis on what their stores are doing, what the impact is. And we were releasing 1 a week, and now we're releasing 3 a week. So in order to ensure that, so we've doubled the amount. We every week we're now recording 6 or 7 episodes a clip. But we want to continuously update people, build our brand, make sure they know they have information flow, especially as people are at home, they're looking for information to do their jobs better. So this is just a quick plug. I was talking to Blake the other day, and there's a lot of people now coming saying we want to do podcasts. We've got people at home. Yeah. We need ways to educate them. You know, newsletters aren't cutting it. Copy's not cutting it. Duh. They're like, how fast can we get a podcast set up? And he was like, I can get you set up in like 3 days. And they're like, that's too fast. And it's like, but that's how fast he can set it up.
But now is the time. Now is the time.
If you don't have it, and first step for a podcast is, what are we going to talk about? Everything at this point, right? Like,
if there's ever a time where
what's in the bill,
what's not in front of you,
all this stuff. So anyway, so that's part of it too, is, on the digital side, we've been talking physical, digital side podcast. People are out there listening, passively trying to do work, trying to find something in the background to listen to. I think that's probably where a lot of our listens come from, is somebody sitting at their desk during every Monday and listening to an episode while they catch up. And then a little bit, I'll go through this really quickly, but a little bit about the future. There's no better time to prepare for the future right now, when you're at home and you're stuck and you're trying to figure this out. As soon as you get through the video will be norm. Video meetings like this will be the norm going forward. But mainly because there's not going to be travel budgets. So you think you're going to have a fly-in in the fall when it's safer, but people aren't going to have the money to fly in like they once did from a business or personal expense. They're going to be scared to travel. So video meetings are going to remain key. And one thing I think beyond this, I'm hoping everybody gets involved in video and starts doing things and really tries this, because I do think it will move the dial. In the future, virtual reality will become key. And I think one key thing on that is when we talk about video, 80% of all internet traffic is video. And you would think, well, yes, Netflix, but it's not. Every YouTube, every brand now has video on their websites to promote and try to sell. Policymakers continue to be overwhelmed by all the data and stats and handouts. Time and travel budgets remain hard so even on the flip side, from our advocates flying into DC, it's going to be harder for our members to fly out and do facility tours. That might be even more difficult as they have to continue to engage on, especially now, on the economics. But when we get through all this, there's going to be a fallout on how we pay for it and how we move forward as a country. So virtual reality at this point is kind of the pitch, but you can record virtually your policy, your facility, and take it to policymakers on Capitol Hill. So replace that need for them to travel to it. There's ways to do that. I don't want to get into the technicalities. We did a previous episode on the technicalities of how to do it.
That's right.
So there's options there. Just keep this front of mind in the future. You don't have to figure it out now. But we've also used it at FDRA for booth bait, where we actually attract people to come in that we'd never engage with, like designers, developers, who never have been advocates, and pull them in. We work with Decker's Brands to set this up at our booth and have them come by. And a part of that too, I think the real solution, if you want to start using virtual reality, is to take, and there's Blake and I, we just did a video shoot for GSK's PAC and created a tour of Washington while their head of federal relations talked about how important it is to stay involved. So we actually attached not the Washington muck or the swamp or whatever you think is bad about it. We took George Washington's monument. We took Lincoln's memorial. We took the Vietnam. We took Thomas Jefferson. We took the White House and the Capitol. We took the physical things we all think about, the good traditional sense of America, and attached it to staying involved. And they're using that when they have used that at events prior to this, but are using it now to get people to their booth, to engage and understand how important it is, and then they're transferring them to give money to their PAC. So there's an ROI component, I think, that is there that's important when you're thinking about purchasing some kind of high-end technology like this.
I've seen it. It's fantastic. You get in the experience. It changes the game in terms of how you figure out and how you train people and how they understand what you do. All of those things. It's amazing.
Yeah. So this is something to think beyond. But if you can think of it this way, if this is so far beyond what you're thinking, then this video is just a little jump forward. I'm not asking you all the way into space with me, but I'm just asking you just to go a little bit further. Go beyond the phone, open up the video thing, and let's have conversations face to face, just like we would in Washington normally. But I mean, that's the whole thing. So that's it. But I wanted to break it down. I am working on some cheat sheets, some breakout sheets on how you do the video production. Because once we're done with this, then I've got to take it and put it into something and stitch something on the front end to make it sound good.
Right.
And on the back end, do a promo. So there's some work on the back
end. But you have the process in place, and you want to help other people with that process. And once you get the process in place, it's so much faster and easier.
Yeah.
So much faster and easier. I've seen you do the work, and our listeners know this, but like FDRA is not some massive organization, right? as we saw from the staff photos and other things, it's a regular organization. This isn't something that's not, I need to have 50 people to get this done. This is something that, you know, single people can do quickly and easily, put the process in place, and then can run with it quickly when the time. So the bureaucracy bad, the feeling that it's overwhelming bad, right? This is something approachable, easy, as simple as starting a Zoom call like this.
Right.
And then find the audio, attach it to the different pieces, be done with it, and you're all set. Like it is that simple. It is that straightforward.
And for the FlyIn, so that's the brainy part. For the FlyIn, it is as simple as taking your physical, normal FlyIn and just adding a video technical component to it and letting people dial in from their homes and share their stories. And if a staffer really does not want to do video, that is fine. But I'm telling you, if you have a local person making a local ask, they will take a video every day of the week because it's their job.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And what I love too is during these times of you know, unprecedented, right? We're not sure what's happening or when. Video is an easy approach because we're also used to it. One of the other things that we're finding clients that are working and it's happening is, you know, there are those folks that can't dedicate this time right now. And we understand that too. So it's finding those folks to say, look, you may have kids at home, family members that are sick, whatever it may be, they can't dedicate the same time. That's okay, but it also establishes you with these videos. And maybe you then cut some videos about what do you need to do to catch up, right? You've been out of the game because of health or because of family or because of whatever it is. You have other responsibilities. This is people-centric, right? Video is people-centric. So let's cut a couple extra videos that just say, hey, you've had responsibilities elsewhere, but you're not going to get left behind, right? We want you to catch up. We're going to be back to normal at some point, and we want to be there for you when you're back. It's like that Seinfeld episode, right? Where it's like, we want to be there, and then we're just there, right? Like same thing as organizations can do is we want to be there for you during these troubled times. And then when these troubled times aren't there anymore, then we're just there in your mind as somebody that understands the issues and can help you out with them. And these videos give us that straight ahead, straightforward connection that we just don't get elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly right. And I
love it.
People just need, at this point in time, everybody's socialized to all this change and chaos. It's the perfect time to try things out. And I will promise you, if everybody's tweeting and everybody's sending emails and everybody's sending letters and they're setting up conference calls, if you want to make your voice heard, show your face. How you like that for a tagline? That's pretty good.
I love it. There it is. I love it. All right, Andy, shut us down today, but let's do this more often, right? We're here. Let's talk through the issues. So hit us up on the website as you would normally with any questions or issues that you see happening. And if you want to know what other folks are doing, I mean, Andy just gave the Public Affairs Council a webinar just the other day. These are things that we're talking about with our clients, with our association members, with everybody else on a day-to-day basis, right? We're here. Ask us questions, but shut us down.
All right.
Lead us out.
This is the Advocacy Help Desk. This is a network of advocacy innovators and experts that have been doing this for many years. This is a free podcast, a free service. You can email us. If we don't have the answer, don't have the expertise, we'll find someone who can help you. But please do reach out. This has just been kind of trying to hack a workflow for people to think things a little bit differently and break through. I think it's so important to talk about these things. It's great that we have tools that we've used in the past, but those aren't innovative tools that are going to move the dial. They're just going to add to the stack that people are looking at right now on Capitol Hill. Again, if you want to make your voice heard, show your face. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We've got many more episodes. If you're home right now, go back to those episodes, advocacyhelpdesk.com. You can listen to them on Spotify, on iTunes. If you want to podcast it, you can go to YouTube and type in Advocacy Help Desk, and you can see our videos like this and see us live as we go through things. And overall, just hope you guys are well. Hope you're safe. We've got a huge task ahead of us as leading our associations and groups through this tough time. It is our job now to do that. And in order to do that, we have to think a little bit differently about what we've been doing. And the same stuff we've been doing isn't going to cut it anymore. We've got to step up our game. So we hope this kind of hack or this kind of worksheet or workflow has helped. We'll be sending out other stack sheets and cheat sheets on how to produce videos on the back end. Once you've got these, send them out. Anything we can do to help you, let us know. AdvocacyHelpDesk.com. I want to thank always my partner in crime, Brian Fracken, who is Spark Influence, who is helping build communities and helping those communities tell their stories in Capitol Hill, and helping FDRA and us, our members do that, and then target and find new people and new influencers we can bring in. And then also our great partner, Human Factor, Blake and Paula, who do all the hard work of taking all the audio and all the video and posting it online. And if you don't have a podcast or you need help doing video and you're not comfortable doing it yourself, Blake and Paula can do that for you as well as a service. So reach out to them. But until next time, again, please keep advocating as hard as you can for your folks. God bless all of you. Be safe.